Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Marcie. Welcome to my home in Florida. Come on in, let me show you around.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Marcie Bond. Welcome to my home in Manalapan, Florida. I'm from the Bahamas and I'm a retired retailer. I had an apartment in Palm Beach, just off of Worth Avenue. And 5 years ago, I discovered this villa here, which is on a row of 15 villas. And they were built in 1973 by architect Henry Harding. And when I saw them, I immediately fell in love and bought one 3 days later and sold my place in Palm Beach. When people come into the house, I love it when they come in and they say, wow, so much color. And the other thing that people often say to me when they come into this house is, oh, this reminds me of what it was like growing up in Florida, because it is an older home. And just people are afraid of color now, but not me. As I was doing it, I realized how red was such an important color in this home. It just pops beautifully. I love color and it just makes me happy. Absolutely not a beige, neutral person, and I never will be. Welcome to the living room. When I first bought this home, I knew that I would like to put seagrass raffia wallpaper on the walls because that always adds warmth to a room. And again, color, color, color. And as I said before, I think incorporating things that are old are very important, more important to me than adding new things. So this piece is vintage. A lot of the things in here are antique. This is a French wallpaper panel that I purchased and then had it framed. It looks like original art, but it's just a wallpaper panel. It's kind of a good trick. This sofa I actually bought on eBay a few years ago, and I had it upholstered in this beautiful French fabric. I think it looks great, and that color always looks good in this house. Being from the Bahamas, I always have to have my Bahamian policeman in everywhere when I decorate. I have a collection of old Bahamian tourism ads that they take out of old magazines and sell on eBay. And I have them dotted around the house. But this one in particular is very special to me because this is around 1965. And a friend of mine came over recently and said, that's Mum. And it's a British family that I've known my whole life. And she's a friend. And she's still alive and a very good family friend. And I only just realized recently that it's her. So every morning when I get up and I come out of the bedroom, I say, good morning, Jerry. So that's very special to me. And then here I have a little collection of English woolies and shell dioramas. And again, adding old and new, I think is a very good kind of trick. So these two ships are around early 1900s. And then this is just a print that's new from Mary McGuire, but I think they mix well together. And these shell dioramas are also from an antique dealer in the Cotswolds in England. And they're also around 1910. And these little French guys here, bought from an antique store in West Palm Beach. And the matting here is actually made of tortoise shell. And they're around 1840 or so. And then my little John Darien hearts, just for a pop of fun. The pink here is a color called Comical Coral. I think it's Benjamin Moore. And I'm very meticulous. So I loved the color, but it was a bit too dark. So I had them lighten it by 50%, which they could do in the paint store. And so after a few attempts, I got the color that I wanted. But I just thought it was very Palm Beachy and very Florida. So I love the combination of that with the grass cloth. So I like to buy things when I'm traveling as well for the house. And these are just cushions that I bought in Mexico. They always remind me of my trips to Tulum. And this is another sofa that I purchased on eBay and had reupholstered. And these are felt cushions that I bought in England that are wonderful. And I have a collection of Bahamian art from a primitive artist by the name of Amos Ferguson, and that's what this one is. And I have a whole collection in the TV room, which we'll talk about later. Again, my Bahamian policeman. More, another shell box done by a friend of mine. And this book was put together by my brother, John Fondas, my twin brother. He had a collection of sailors' valentines, and he had his whole collection photographed and published this book with Rizzoli, and it's great. It is in the shape of the actual sailors' valentines that he had in his collection. And that was a very popular book. So, something, I only have one copy. They seem to go missing all the time. When I'm putting a room together like this, I don't think too hard about mixing which colors with which. I just kind of buy what I think is pretty, and I throw it together, and I hope it works. Usually it works. If it doesn't, I just change things around, reupholster. But yeah, because I'm not actually a decorator, and I'm not actually good at understanding what's going to look good in a space until it's actually in the space. So I do make a lot of mistakes, but I somehow get there in the end. The chairs here I thought were kind of a good neutral, but then I added the throws over the top in this color to tie it in with the two sofas and all of the cushions on the sofas. This shell mirror is mid-century, and it's wrought iron. And I originally purchased this for my apartment in Palm Beach, but when I moved here, I had to bring it with me because it was too good to leave behind. These shell boxes here were made by an artist friend of mine, and she just does this she's a painter, but she does these shell boxes on the side, and she's a snorkeler, and she has a home in the Bahamas. We collected all of these shells together when we would go on the boat to the Berry Islands in the Bahamas. And she put these together for me and gifted them to me. So they're very special to me. So these are vintage Bahamian postcards that I also picked up on eBay. And they're, again, very sentimental to me, but also I thought very charming in any tropical house. And so I just had them framed and floated. And I just think they're really whimsical and fun and tropical. When I first came to see the villa, it was lovely, but had very heavy fabrics in it. So what I wanted to do was to make it lighter and brighter, and I absolutely love color. So I just wanted to modernize it and just make it my happy place. I have a lot of fabrics here in the house, which I always think make a house warm and cozy. And the more fabric in a home, the softer the sounds are, the acoustics are better, and it just is more cozy. Now we're stepping into the dining room, but just before we get there, I just wanted to point out this beautiful fabric that I used for my curtains. This is from Quadrille, and I just think it's an absolutely beautiful fabric that incorporated so many of the colors that I have in the room. And the name of the print is Les Indiennes, and it's one of my absolute favorites. And I have these bamboo shades, which are actually electric shades. And I think they always look great in any home, whether it's modern or old. So to divide the two spaces here, the living and the dining spaces, I put this vintage mid-century console here, which I thought, again, was a great little fun color. And I just put a few things on here that I love. I have a little obsession with heron, Hungarian hand-painted china. So I've been collecting pieces over the years. And this is another one that a friend gave to me as a gift. That's a very special one. And I just decorated with books, and this is a sea urchin, just to kind of divide the two spaces. And this is the only probably new set of furniture I have in the home. I typically would always rather put something vintage, but I purchased this table during COVID when it was hard to get anything. So I like it, but to be honest, I would like it better if it was something older. But I thought this could be a temporary until I find something else. And then I have these lovely pagodas that were done by my friend Amanda Lindroth. She has a whole wicker collection that is gorgeous that she sells. So this dining set was from Serena and Lily. And again, I'm not a lover of buying things from catalogs, but it's definitely pretty and it serves its purpose for the moment. But eventually I'm going to find something probably vintage to put here. And I just had the cushions made to go over the top, just to kind of give it a little color to add to it. This watercolor here was done by my good friend Alex Timchula. She's an artist from New Jersey who has a home in the Bahamas, and I just absolutely love it. Again, it's very whimsical and it's very tropical, and the more you look at it, the more you see. This pendant light I purchased from a photograph, and it came from Paris. And it was a little bit of an extravagant purchase and a completely different color in the photograph. When I got it here and had it installed, I actually didn't like the color, but I was so invested in it that I just decided to keep it. So it's growing on me, let's just say that. So I always liked for my bar to be a little bit whimsical, of course. So I incorporated these little Bahamian policemen here. This is the Bahamas Police Marching Band, and if you ever go to the Bahamas, it's something you have to see. I have some bottles here that are fun. This one in particular is actually a very, very collectible bottle made by Nassau Royale, and all of my friends in the Bahamas are trying to get their hands on one. I finally got this from eBay after searching for about 5 years. Originally, this bar had some very dark wallpaper, so I changed it for this quadruple wallpaper that's called Crisscross, but I actually have this also in my kitchen and in a pair of chairs in the living room, just all tied together very well. And then up here, I thought if you're in Florida, you've got to have a gator somewhere. This painting here was given to me for my birthday by someone very special to me, and it's a very special painting. It's by a Hungarian-American artist by the name of George Nemethy. And what's so special about them is that they're incredibly detailed. And actually they're best seen under a magnifying glass because they are that detailed. But they also look great from a distance. And he paints scenes in the Bahamas and Bermuda and also in the Mediterranean. And it's one of my favorite pieces of art that I own. Moving into my little kitchen. I'm not big on renovating, so this kitchen is basically as it was when I purchased the house. I changed the wallpaper, but that was really about it. And it came with these beautiful French antique chairs that Lita Austin Foster had bought when she was renovating and decorating the house in 1997. And again, always good to have antiques. This is the same wallpaper that I have in the bar and also on the pair of chairs in the living room. And these are also old Bahamian tourism ads that I purchased on eBay as well and had those framed here. This light I bought during COVID and I absolutely love it. It took 1 year to get here. So this is just my little breakfast nook where I like to have coffee in the morning. This sink was actually here when I bought the house, and I absolutely could not change it. It's, I think, the funnest thing in the house. And it came from a company in the 80s and 90s that was very popular called Country Floors. And I think it's so fun. And this I bought at an antiques fair, and it's Italian. I just thought it looked so fun for that space. And while I'm here, I just want to show you some very beautiful special plates I have here that are all hand painted in the UK. And they all have different animals on them. And they're some of my favorites. I love them. And they came with the house. Previous owners left a lot of goodies here, which is always a good thing. And then this is a vintage Pucci plate from the 1980s that was done for Rosenthal, which my brother actually bought for me as a gift. And again, lots of color. I think it's perfect for the kitchen here. I call this house the doll house because it's really tiny. And for a lot of people, they don't like that. But me, the tinier it is, the cozier it is. It's a little bit like being on a boat. The bedrooms have somewhat low ceilings, but all of that just adds to the coziness. When I have friends come and stay, we hang out in this bright living room. We hang out in the TV room, and everybody loves coming back, because it's not your typical big house with a bunch of rooms that I'm not using. So now we're entering the primary bedroom, and this bedroom was quite a work in progress. The home, when I bought it, came with this flooring, and it came with this wallpaper, which I absolutely love. It sort of reminded me a bit of Laura Ashley in the 1990s. So I had this beautiful canopy made here, and I wasn't sure if it was going to work with the wallpaper or not. So I had that installed, and it worked beautifully. So it sort of all just came together. The little bamboo tables came with the house, and these incredible brass sconces also came with the house. I just changed the shades. So again, it's very cozy in here, and sometimes I don't want to leave. This lamp also, this mid-century lamp, came with the house with the wallpaper on the shade that matches the wallpaper here. These birds are Italian, and they are decoupage. And the amazing thing about the way they framed it is that if you take it off of the wall and look at the back, there's a beautiful Balinese fabric at the back. You could almost hang it the other way around. And I'm not going to say where the cushions are from, but they're not high-end. They're from Home Goods. I like to mix. This lamp here, antique lamp, came with the house as well as the chair. My wonderful neighbors actually gifted this desk to me. And this piece here is vintage fix reed, which I just purchased recently. And I bought it in white, and I painted it in a color that my friend Amanda Lindroth uses a lot, and it's called Southfield Green. And it is a fantastic neutral color to use, and it's great indoor and outdoor. And it just always works. This is a print from Mary McGuire, and she's very clever because she does them with these antiqued frames. So they actually look old, but they're new. And she does sometimes paint over the top a little bit to make them look original. And then another piece of heron that I love that my mom gave to me. Love that. This pair of chairs here came with the house, and it had a sort of very old-fashioned frilly fabric on it, and I had it reupholstered with this striping, and it just brought the chairs back to life, like as if they were new. But again, they're not. They're just something I recycled. And the house also came with these beautiful lucite TV stands. I'm a big TV person, so in all of my bedrooms I always have them. But they're super fun and very simple. So now we're in my little TV room, which is the most comfortable room in the house. And again, I don't like to buy things from catalogs. This is a Pottery Barn sofa, and I bought it for a couple of reasons. One is they have the best, most comfortable sofas for watching TV, but also the house is so small that an actual sofa could not fit through the hallway here. So I had to buy something that was a sectional, and they barely got the 3 sections in through the hallway here. And I have a collection of these Bahamian primitive paintings that were done by a painter by the name of Amos Ferguson. And I started collecting these in the late 1980s. And back in the day, he wasn't in a gallery, so you would go to his house, which was a shack, and he didn't have electricity. So he would take you to the back room where he had the art and shine a flashlight on the art, and you would just pick things from the floor. So I have 5 of these, which I covet. These 2 were given to me by my brother, which he gave to me, I think, in a moment of weakness, and I snatched them and took them as quickly as I could before he changed his mind. This is another antique piece that came with the house, and I thought it was super charming and it fit the space perfectly. So it has never moved from this space. I just put some family photos in here. I bought these slipper chairs quite a few years ago, and they were in my apartment in Palm Beach. And I had this fabric put on and kind of just kept it, brought it here, and then brought these cushions for them. I thought it was kind of a fun, whimsical way to add to it. And it all sort of ties in together with what's on the sofa here. And this beautiful brass lamp came with the house again, and I just changed the shade. That was it. And just little knickknacks and things here. More pictures. This is another painting from my Amos Ferguson collection. He predominantly painted on cardboard, which never really lasted. And this was one of the only paintings he ever did on canvas. So that's the most collectible one. Growing up in the Bahamas, my parents were in the retail jewelry business. And in my late 20s, I got into the clothing business, and I had my own retail store for 20 years. And that was absolutely the easiest thing I've ever done and the funnest, because I was able to just buy beautiful things and sell them, which to me was a lot easier than putting a house together. So for me, putting a house together is very tricky, and I have to do it by trial and error because I'm not a trained decorator. So I end up making a lot of mistakes, but somehow it all comes together in the end. It can take me a long time. This house actually took me 3 years. The painting behind me, it was actually on the floor framed for 2 years before I figured out where to put it. But I just wing it, and somehow I get there in the end. So now we are in my guest bedroom, and all I can say about this room is whimsical. I don't know how I put it together. It was an accident. But again, the canopies with quadrille fabric again, and these soldiers from Mary McGuire, again in the antiqued frames. And then up here we have our John Darien Napoleon. I try to have a sense of humor when I'm decorating a little bit. The furniture actually came with the house, but it was a brown furniture. And again, it's that Southfield green color that I used here on this and on the headboards. And I added this Matuk fabric from Lulu de Kwiatkowski because it's just so happy and fun. These birds on the wall here look like original art, but what they are actually is prints that are painted over the top of. And they're done by an artist in the Bahamas by the name of Bill Johnson. And he's been doing these since the 1960s. And he does maps and birds and fish. And we've had them in all of our homes growing up in the Bahamas. And these are old, but he still produces them. And I had them in another home with white frames. And then when I moved here, I had the frames painted brown. I purchased these two adorable little paintings on Facebook Marketplace in the Bahamas and brought them over to Florida and had them framed. And I was asking a friend the other day who the artist was, and it turns out that the artist of these was my art teacher when I was 12 years old in the Bahamas. And so they have so much meaning to me now, on top of being just adorable pictures. And she was a lovely teacher. All of our teachers in the Bahamas were British, and so that's very sentimental to me. These little benches here are vintage fixed reed, and I had them upholstered and painted and had them in another home, and they just worked perfectly in this space. But once again, mid-century seems to be what I always revert back to. So now we're on my little back porch, which I love hanging out here, especially in the winter. I have a sort of combination of vintage furniture that I purchased in junk shops and basically painted myself with Rust-Oleum spray. And the plants are, believe it or not, these wonderful pots are from Wayfair. And yeah, just again, vintage wrought iron furniture, just comfortable places to sit and hang out. The tablecloth I purchased from Etsy, of course, and it's just a beautiful Indian fabric that tied in a lot of the colors that I have inside the house. the thing that gives a home a soul to me is having a lot of old things in the home. So probably 80% of what's in my home, I purchased secondhand. Sofas, which I recovered. I always love to keep things, when I buy a home, to keep a few things from the previous owner, because I think it kind of adds to the charm and to the feeling. I have a lot of original art, not a lot of prints. I've got things that I have collected over the years, like shell boxes and shell dioramas. And definitely having old things in a home give it a lot more character. Home to me is a place where you can be traveling, you can be out in the crazy traffic. You arrive home, you open the door, you walk in, and you just feel, this is where I'm meant to be. And to me, it's a place that I don't like to leave. I mean, I love going out, doing things and traveling, but there's truly no place like home when you live in the house that you created for yourself.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.